view of what happened this morning. So this morning we marked up this divergence here on US 30, and we talked about how it was most likely a retail death trap, how they were going to try to run back. And I was watching this level here, which was the rejection block, and then this level here, which was that liquidity to that short-term high. Now, the level I was looking for, I measured this swing out, and I was looking for a measured move. That means like one measure up, so one standard deviation. You can see that little one right there. Now, that pivot, that little black line, was also, it was a good confluence to run with that standard deviation. Again, these are our IPTA pivots, these cutting these quarterly levels in half. We covered that on the YouTube video and the other day on just basically a trade review. So we ended up catching this long right here. We went long on a 1 minute order block. It was just a sweet and simple trade. It traded up, and I want you to see this trade here as it formed. It formed that order block, and as it traded through it, we entered right here, and we put our stop. We could have put it at the mean threshold and got a larger risk reward, but we put it right there at the low of the order block, and it gave us a little more than a 2-to-1. If we'd have used that mean threshold instead of looking at the low of the order block, we'd have been at about a 3-4-to-1. So solid little trade. It just ran up into that level, and then right here, we've been talking about this all week as well. See this order block? Is this order block high probability? Yes or no? Yes. And why? Well, it's high probability because of the fair value gap right here. So we put some special emphasis. And again, this is the order block because it's the highest up closing candle. But since all these are green and connected to it, we mark all of them. Now say we draw that out in time. So that is where we expect our resistance to show up at. Now, you might have gotten taken out on this one, especially if you were just using the bodies, but that's why you have to use the lower time frames to really nab those tight entries. But once it trades up and back through right there, you could start using that order block. You could sell right here with your stop at that high. And it ended up giving a pretty nice short. Now, I was waiting. There's a lot of yellow going on right here. Let me take some of this off. I was waiting for it to close not just below this liquidity, but I wanted to see it close below the rejection block before I started looking for anything bearish. So you can see that rejection block here. Once price right here, this flat line, this black line here, once price broke that down, I want you to see how it's just a simple retracement and then it goes. What does it go for? That original low from the measured move. It sweeps that low and then look, comes back. How convenient. Taps the rejection block one more time and then starts sinking back down. So I just want you to pay attention to the and see why I'm talking about these levels specifically, right? The measured move has a lot of confluence, not just with a random level, but with a high probability order block and fair value gap and an IPTA quarterly, right? So you have to have that kind of probability. Now, this divergence actually ended up holding is pretty nice. We didn't take out that weekly high. So I'm expecting to possibly see more bearish prices headed for this low. Now again, same thing. We're just watching these levels as it trades down, watching this swing here. And this would turn into, if it breaks this low, a bearish breaker. Now one last little tap. Right here is our Asia model. If Asia model is just when it leaves the higher low open and we trade to it. Bang, you can see right there. Ended up giving a little bit of volatility there, but ended up setting the high and then reached up into it a little bit and then sold off. Actually had really great risk reward potential in there. Yeah, at least 10-to-1 or more. So that was really clean right there on NASDAQ. On S&P, we talked about this level coming back, coming to this fair value gap that we had from yesterday. Ended up being an inverted gap now. It used it on the opposite side. I'm not going to go into all of inversion, fair value gaps, and all that kind of stuff. That'll be for the future. We were talking about how at this order block, they either move higher and this becomes a high probability order block, or this low of the order block becomes a target. There's really only two choices, right? Either we start moving toward this low, this one here, or we're going to gap and move higher. In this instance, that this would be left as an order block. So it was not, right? We ended up attacking this level. So when we started seeing failures happen up here on this level, even say just take it to a 1 minute, 1 second, sorry, the chart's not loading there in the 1 minute. So even if you just took it to a 1 minute, right there it trades up, creates the high, breaks in structure, you look for breaker order block for value gap. Now your target becomes this low, the low of that order block, right? Either they leave that low alone and end up coming back and going higher and creating this order block, or they take it out. And then you can see they took it out and they actually use some of the inverse levels to keep it moving. But nice trading day today across the indices, all across the board. Even dollar and euro and GBP have been pretty nice. I always look for, if I was just going to look for like a simple market breakdown, I always look for the divergence when I'm trading these pairs. Even if it's just a small little intraday high during London or New York, there's always, not always, but there's generally some kind of clue with market structure as to where price is likely to go. Now, we really don't have too much to work with here. Everything's just pretty much following the same structure, just following each other. The only thing I do see here is GU just has that lone low, and then EU, they actually gave a stop hunt right there. That was right at New York Open. So you could see you had some odd men out. You just had that low on GU, and then EU had to form one. Gold was just nuts. I won't even say anything about this other than, when you know big moves like this are coming, you can always just measure out the order blocks right there on the daily. If you knew that it was likely to move higher, say you were trading like a smash pattern or something like that here on the 4 hour, just look to go long somewhere in that box. Obviously, that's more of a gamble, and this isn't like a trading system, but that would just be how you get in on an order block if you just need to get in. Filling in all these gaps, and gold headed back up here. It's looking like we talked about gold and the effects that that's having on oil and the effects that that has on Russia and Ukraine, and how oil, this is Germany, oil needs to essentially go higher, and so does gold if BRICS and Russia want to keep their alliance strong. Now, what I'm assuming that the U.S. is going to do is try to eventually keep the dollar back on track, and they're probably going to try to push the dollar up to these highs. I wouldn't say that that's like a guarantee, and that we still definitely could move lower. But going into Q4, I think that they're really trying to, that they're really going to try to lower not only oil, but gold as well. Oil probably is not going to lower in Q4 just because we're going into the winter months, which crude doesn't always rise during the winter months, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to see less demand for oil during those times. And with Bitcoin, really, Bitcoin just, it has not done anything since really late 2021. We had that fall, the big fall in 2022, and then it's just been flat. I'm sure there's lots of people trading it, but as far as large moves, I don't think that it's really relevant at the moment. But all right, guys, appreciate you checking this out. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.